This is the Sweet Blossom headband. It's really cute for a girl, or it could be worn by a teenager or an adult. I've made this one 3 inches wide. You may choose not to make it that wide, and it buttons in the back. I have 1 button on this one, but you can choose to adjust the rows so you have 2 buttons on the back. It's very easy to make. We'll begin with a chain. Now for mine, I had made it, I had chained, 83, because the entire measurement was 21 inches. However, it fit a headband of 18 inches. So it's probably best to measure whomever you're making it for and then add those extra inches on for the overlap. But I'm going back. I worked at my chain, and of course I'm only doing a sample. In the second chain from the end of the hook, I am working single crochets, and I like to work through the back loop so you have a clean edge on the other side. And I'm finishing up here. So this is my first foundation row, and now I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And it's all made with single crochets, so it's very simple. However, I'm working on the back, and when I'm working on the back, I am only going to work under the front loop, just to add a little interest on the other side. So I'm doing single crochets, but I'm inserting my hook only under the 1 front loop. And on the other side, it will end up creating a ridge or line, like I said, just to give a little interest to the design. And so I finished that row, only working in the front loop. And when I get to the last stitch, I'm going to chain 1. And then I will turn. And now on this side, this is the front, and you can see that ridge along the bottom. I'm going to work regular single crochet. So I'm going to go through the top 2 loops and do a single crochet. So it's a very easy pattern because it's just, you just keep repeating the same thing. When you're on the back side, you work front loop only. When you're on the front side, you work a full single crochet. Now the only other thing you have to do is add a buttonhole, and you can decide how thick you want to make the band and where to place your buttonholes. And of course buttonholes are very easy to make depending on which side you're adding the buttonhole. If I was adding the buttonhole, say I was going to add it over here, I would have continued to do my full single crochets, but I'm going to turn, so I'm adding the buttonhole on this one on the back. So I'm doing 2, working through the front loop only so I can keep that pattern going, 2 single crochets, and now I'm going to make my buttonhole, and my buttonhole is going to need 4, it measures 4 of these stitches. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, skip those 4, and now make my next single crochet. And again, I'm only working in that front loop because I'm trying to keep that pattern going on the right side. So when I get down to the end of that row, I chain 1 and turn, and now I'm back to the side where I'm working on full single crochet. So I'm going back to my pattern of single crochets, and when I get to that buttonhole, I'm going to work 4 single crochets in that buttonhole to match the button or the ones that I skipped. And you just continue across with the pattern. Now, for this one, the button was fairly large, so I did leave 4 spaces for it. In fact, yeah, I did. You know, a lot of times too, when you may want to choose to make the buttonhole a little bit smaller than the button, because in this project you're going to be removing, taking it off and on, so it will stretch out. So you may choose to make a buttonhole instead of 4, it's 3 you skip. So it's a little bit tighter to put the button through. If you're doing something like a pillow, where you don't really unwrap and rewrap the pillow, you could use just the 4. But like I said, in this, you may want to experiment to see, maybe it's better to use it just a little bit tighter, so when you put the button in, taking it off and on, it doesn't stretch out. And this one, I have it pulls over to the side, so it pretty much locks it in. Now, to finish off the band, we're going to repeat it. So you have 10 rows, but again, I'm doing 3 inches, so you may not want to do that many. And working on your front, we're going to do an edging all the way around, and in that edging, I am only working on the back loop. So this is going to be the opposite of what we worked on the back. This is with the front facing now. I'm doing a slip stitch all along. Now along this raw edge though, I'm going to be doing single crochets. So you want to do a row of single crochets down the raw edge, so you start finishing that off. And then when you get up to your the long edges, that's where you're going to do the slip stitch. And remember, when you're working in a corner, you need to do 3 stitches. So in this one, we're having 3 single crochets in the corner stitch. So you have a nice clean turn there. And then you'll begin working along your back loop. This is that first edge we had done, the foundation. And we're doing, whoops, I wanted to do a slip stitch. I want to do a slip stitch across that. It gives it a little more body, so it helps stabilize it, because you're going to begin, it's a headband, so you're going to be pulling it. So that's the way you do that. And when you finally get around, you've got your single crochets. Let me show you. You've got the single crochets along the edge. This may be better here. Single crochets along the edge, your 3 in the turn, and then across the top you have a little bit of a stronger band because I have the slip stitch there, so it helps it from stretching too much. And when you're finished, you just fold it in half, and when you get off center there, that you can attach whatever decoration you want. I'm using the polka dot corsage, and I've done it in the same fabric or the same yarn that I worked my band in. So when I attach it, I sew it on. It really matches it nicely. And of course there's a lot of different colors you can use. This would be another pretty one. But it makes a very lovely accessory for a young girl. And if you would like the written instructions, go to free patterns at simpleandsensational.com, and it's listed under the Ruffles Galore. This is a new category I have for a collection of projects using mesh, ribbon, or the fabric yarn.